This video demonstrates the basic procedures for answering questions in the Variety of Democracies Project's online surveys. More detailed guidance is available at the online coding tutorial. When you agree to work as a V-Dem country expert, we assign you a username. You will also receive an email inviting you to choose a password. Use the username and password to log into the site at the login link at the upper right-hand corner of the page. If you have forgotten your password, you can use this link to request a new one. When you are ready to begin work, click Begin or Resume Coding. The first time you open any surveys, you are presented with a consent agreement. If you consent to its terms, scroll to the bottom and tick the box indicating consent. You may revoke your consent at any time. However, you must consent in order to proceed. Then you will see a menu of links to all the surveys that you have been assigned. Let's choose 2 Elections Utopia. The first question of every survey always asks about the level of confidentiality you prefer. This choice is saved for all your surveys, but you may revise it later. Choose an answer and click Submit. When your answer is submitted successfully, click Next. The next screens contain some instructions specific to that survey. When you are ready, click Next to go to the first question. Only a few questions at a time, most often one question, appear on your screen. The coding interface looks like this when you begin a question. At the top of the screen, you will see the title of each survey and the country name in parentheses. Each question is identified by a unique title that will always be displayed in parentheses before the question itself. This title will help you identify different questions in a survey and move back and forth between them. At the lower left corner of each question window, there is a small navigation tool. This tool gives you 2 ways to move from question to question. If you wish to answer the questions in sequence, you may use the previous or next buttons. If you wish to skip directly to a previous or later question, you may use the Jump to drop-down menu. For each question, you must enter both a response, which may be a code, a range, a date, a text answer, or a numeric answer, and a confidence rating. If you cannot see the whole page, shrink down your browser view with Control- or Command- until you can. The question to be answered is displayed at the top left corner of the page in bold. Right below the question there may be a hint that provides either a definition or a clarification about the question or navigation instructions. Immediately below the question you will see a list of answers to it. Most are multiple choice questions, as in this example, but some are yes-no questions, text boxes, date questions with a pop-up calendar, or a slider to select a number. Under the answer options you will see a slider that you will use to select your confidence rating for your answers. To the right of the answers is a grid of years, from 1900 to 2012 for most countries. In the year grid, blue years within the first column identify decades, while blue numbers in the top row of the grid identify years within decades. For example, the year 1913 is found in the row 1910 and column 03. Below the year grid, you will find a box to enter specific dates. I'll say more about confidence ratings and specific dates later. The basic steps to enter and submit your responses are: select years, enter responses, rate confidence, and submit answers. Let's look at these steps one at a time. First, select years. To enter your scores, you begin by clicking on the first year of a historical period. You may code 1 year at a time, or you can click and drag it to code a whole range of years at once. If you have made a mistake or have changed your mind and want to select a different range of years before you have assigned any ratings, just click and drag to select the years you want, or Control-click to unselect any years within a selected range. You may also Control-click to select multiple non-sequential years. A list of the years you have selected appears in the specific dates box underneath. Second, when you are satisfied with the range of years you have selected, look at the answer options to your left and click the radio button inside the best answer to choose a score from the response options. If it is not a multiple choice question, use the text box or other provided device to enter your response. The response you choose will be assigned to all the dates in the selected range. After this step, the years in the selected cells are replaced with orange caution triangles. These are there to remind you to do the next step, providing confidence ratings. While some or all of the coded years are selected, use the confidence slider to rate how confident you feel that your answers are correct for these years. The slider allows for you to choose any value between 0 and 100. As you move the slider, legends providing benchmark interpretations appear below. Here we choose to assign a confidence rating of 80 to the years 1965 to 1999. Once you choose a confidence rating, a green check will appear in the cell, and the confidence ratings inside the parentheses of the grid will automatically change accordingly for all selected years. Note that in this example, confidence is being rated for only some of the years that have been coded to. You can assign different confidence levels to different ranges of years, and you must record your confidence in all the scores you assigned. You will not be allowed to submit your answers until a confidence level greater than 0 is assigned to them. 5% is the minimum allowed. The fourth and final step is to submit your responses by clicking the Submit button below the confidence slider. If the interface does not confirm that your data were submitted successfully, check to make sure that you assign confidence greater than 0 for all the years you have selected and that all the orange triangles have been replaced for green check marks. If you make a mistake or want to change your answers before you have submitted them, click Undo and start over for that range of years. Undo returns the coding grid to a state reflecting only the values that have been submitted to the database. If you would like to check the rating you assigned to a certain year, it will appear when you place your mouse over a date in the specific dates box at the bottom of the screen. Here the respondent assigned a code of 2 to answer the question and a confidence rating of 80% for 1975. To recap, this is the basic coding procedure. Select years, enter responses, rate confidence, and submit answers. This procedure is sufficient for most questions and responses. However, 5 special situations require an extra step: specific dates, multiple answers, multiple questions, masked years, and pre-coded answers. The first special situation concerns specific dates. For example, when we looked at specific dates box, you may have noticed that all the dates, which are always in the year, month, day format, were January 1st. This is because our convention is to make January 1st the default date for each year, meaning that the new score is assumed to start on January 1st and continue until a new score is entered in the future. Usually the next score is on January 1st of the next year. However, sometimes the score actually changes later that same year. If you have more precise information about when the score actually changed, we would be grateful if you would enter that information. Let's say, for example, that the score changed on March 15th, not January 1st. You can indicate this easily by selecting the year in the question and clicking on the Edit button below the specific dates box. A calendar will pop up. Use the left and right arrows at the top to move to the desired month in that year, then click on the exact date, then Update to change January 1st to March 15th. If you know only the month of the change, select the first day of the month, which will tell us that the score changed sometime later that month. You may also add additional specific dates to a selected year if there was more than one event in this year that would change the score on that question. To do this, click inside the New Date text box, navigate to the desired date on the pop-up calendar, and click the Add button. The added specific date will then appear in the New Date field. Assign a score and the confidence level to your answer. You can add as many specific dates in this one year as are necessary. Simply click New Date again and repeat this process. If you make a mistake or change your mind, you can delete any of the added specific dates by clicking the Delete button. You will not be able to delete the default date of January 1st, but as explained above, you can change it to the specific date of the first score change of that year. Therefore, if you want to code just one specific date in a year, do it by editing January 1st rather than adding a specific date. A second special situation concerns multiple answers. For example, this question asks you to describe the areas of the country in which elections are significantly less free and fair, and it says to choose all that apply. Instead of choosing one response, I am choosing multiple responses to indicate that subnational elections are less free and fair in rural areas, poor areas, outside the capital cities, and areas with indigenous populations. For this kind of question, you must apply the same degree of confidence to all the answers at once. The third special situation concerns multiple questions on one page. We have discontinued this question format, but some of the older surveys still have several questions clustered into a box on the same page. If you encounter this format, please make sure that you scroll all the way down in the question box so that you don't skip any of the questions inside of it, and that you provide answers and confidence ratings for each year and each question before you submit your answers. The same confidence score now has to apply to all answers that were coded together. The fourth special situation concerns masked years. For some questions about elections, we want answers only for election years. We have therefore modified the year grid so that only election years for that country can be coded, and all other years are grayed out. Here we show that Utopia held elections every 4 years from 2000 to 2012, and not before 2000. The gray or masked years cannot be assigned scores or confidence. However, you can still click and drag to select multiple election years. If you click on 2000 and drag to 2009, for example, you select only the years 2000, 2004, and 2008. Looking at the specific dates box, you can also see that we have entered the specific dates of these elections for you: March 30th, 2000, April 4th, 2004, and March 29th, 2008. These scores and confidence ratings you submit for these years will apply to these exact dates. Note also that if you select the year 2012, two specific dates will appear: March 31st and April 14th. If you want to give them identical scores and confidence ratings, you may leave them both checked while you proceed. However, if you want to assign different scores or confidence to different specific dates, uncheck all but the date that you want to code, apply its score and confidence, then uncheck the coded date, and check the other date in that year and code it. The final special situation concerns pre-coded data. We have spared you the trouble of looking up some specific factual data, such as the exact dates of elections, names and dates of executives, and names of legislative chambers. This also helps ensure that the experts are coding the same events, institutions, and officials. In such situations, the orange triangle icon replaces the year, indicating that we have loaded the pre-coded values for you. You can see what the pre-coded values are by selecting one year or one specific date at a time. The pre-coded answer is selected in the answer box. We ask you not to change these pre-coded values, even though you will have to submit them as though they were your responses in order to proceed. You must, however, assign them confidence ratings in order to proceed. This is a good way to register any uncertainty that you may have about the accuracy of pre-coded data. You may either code all year ranges and then submit, or submit each range as you code it, but be sure to submit your ratings before you try to move on to a different question. You will not be able to delete your answers after you submit them, but you will be able to change them. If you need to delete any responses, send a message to your designated project coordinator at vdem.net. We suggest that you submit your scores frequently as you code, especially if your internet connection is frequently lost. You will probably need more than one session to complete your surveys. This is not a problem for your data entry. All information that you submit during your sessions is automatically saved in the database. Just make sure that you submit your last set of ratings before you end the session, then log out. When you start a new session, log in as before, click on the Begin or Resume Coding tab, and select the survey on which you wish to work. All the scores you submitted earlier should appear in the grid. You may either add new scores or revise ones that you've entered in the previous session. You can modify any information you have entered into a survey as long as we have your listed status as active. When you tell us that you are finished, we will change your status to inactive, and you will no longer be able to access your surveys. These are the basics. More complete instructions are available online at vdem.net/coding instructions. We hope you find your coding for varieties of democracy to be a stimulating experience. We are grateful for your contributions, and please finally remember to complete the post-survey questionnaire when you are finished and the payment survey at your first opportunity so that your compensation will not be delayed.